This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, April 28th, 2023. I'm Alex Brown. Shells Inc., a manufacturer of sand cores for the foundry industry, is investing nearly $6 million to boost operations at its facility in the Marshall County town of Bourbon. The company said today it will use the funding to purchase additional equipment and add 9 jobs by the end of 2026. Founded in 1972, Shells makes cores that are used to produce aluminum, sand, and permanent mold castings, which are then used to create a wide variety of products. The company said the expansion is in response to demand for its core molding services and the need for high-tech manufacturing processes. The new jobs will bring the company's total workforce to 90 people and have a pay range between $17.50 and $34 per hour. Governor Eric Holcomb today announced Richard Polk will become the new commissioner of the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. Polk succeeds David Adams, who is stepping down after less than a year in the role for undisclosed reasons. Polk joined the DWD in January as Chief Administrative Officer. He previously served as Chief Financial Officer for Chicago Rising, a redevelopment organization focusing on the restoration of commercial and residential buildings, as well as providing employment opportunities for ex-offenders. DePauw University has named John Clark the inaugural dean of its newly established School of Business and Leadership. Clark comes to DePauw from Tulane University, where he held academic and administrative roles. In March 2022, DePauw announced plans for the business school as part of the 5-year DePauw's Bold and Gold 2027 strategic plan. The new program will launch this fall. Clark previously served as Associate Dean for Academic Operations at Tulane's Freeman School of Business, where he helped develop educational programs and corporate partnerships. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Indiana, it's time to get revved up. Inside Indiana Business is going racing. We'll be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the month of May and take you inside the business of motorsports, from gasoline alley to high-tech race shops to small-town dirt tracks. We'll explore what fuels a billion-dollar industry in the state. Join the entire Inside Indiana Business team from the world's greatest race course for Business at the Brickyard, brought to you by Purdue University. It's checkered flag coverage you won't want to miss.
The Greater Lafayette market has maintained its top position in the Wall Street Journal Realtor.com Spring Emerging Housing Markets Index, while another Indiana community had a more than 100-point drop from its previous ranking. Wes Mills has more.
The index identifies the top metro areas among 300 for homebuyers looking for a market that will appreciate a strong local economy and appealing lifestyle amenities. The partners say the communities on the list offer a high quality of life and are expected to see future home price appreciation. The Tippecanoe County communities were also ranked number 1 in the Winter 2023 index. South Bend, Mishawaka, which was ranked number 15 in the winter survey, plummeted 102 spots in the most recent reading. While not the only community to fall out of the top 20, the northern Indiana cities had the largest plunge among the 300 most populous statistical areas in the index. The publication said many largely affordable markets fell out of favor due to sharply rising mortgage rates. The Elkhart-Goshen Metropolitan Statistical Area ranking is unchanged at number 3. Fort Wayne dropped 3 spots from the winter index, coming in at number 5 overall. Rounding out the top 5, Bloomington, Illinois is the number 2 market, and Lebanon, Pennsylvania is number 5. Wes Mills, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Vincennes locals are raising funds through a crowdfunding campaign called Nika Park to transform an underused area of the Vincennes Riverwalk into a public park that pays tribute to Indiana's indigenous peoples. The campaign seeks to gather $35,000 by June 17th and could receive additional funding from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority's Creating Places program. The proposed park will include a nature playground, interpretive signs, native plantings, and a sample woodland Native American village. The project is being led by the Knox County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area and assisted by Wabash Valley Progressives, and aims to raise awareness about the Miami Nation and other indigenous groups in the area. On this weekend's edition of Inside Indiana Business Television, we're on the road in Northwest Indiana with our Engage Indiana series. We spoke with Northwest Indiana Forum CEO Heather Ennis, who said the region is continuing to see momentum, particularly being one of the regions to receive the full $50 million funding allocation through the Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative.
Been a huge shot in the arm for us. There's 34 projects across that portfolio that are being implemented. And with that $50 million investment, over $600 million of additional investment is following around it. So it's a pretty exciting time in Northwest Indiana, and we're seeing a lot of hope around those projects that are making some considerable investments in communities that maybe have been left behind a little bit.
IIB host Gary Dick also spoke with South Shoreline President Mike Noland on the progress of 2 transformational rail projects. You can find out when the show will air in your area at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Texas-based Heidelberg Materials North America has begun production at its new, more than $600 million cement plant in the Lawrence County city of Mitchell. The company, formerly known as Lehigh Hanson, said the facility will ultimately produce 2.4 million tons of cement annually. The first clinker was produced earlier this week at the facility, which replaces the company's previous plant. Clinker is the material that comes out of the plant's kiln and is then ground and processed into cement. Up to 50 new full-time jobs are expected to be added with the new plant, bringing the facility's total headcount to more than 170. Elevate Ventures CEO Christopher Day is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.